Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Across enterprises and MSSPs alike, analysts are challenged by the scale and speed with which today's threats are outgrowing traditional workflows. What we're exploring in this conversation is how AI helps teams reclaim control by turning their existing expertise, processes, and tools into something that can scale. We'll talk about how deterministic decision models capture the judgment of your best analysts, and how agentic workflows accelerate investigations without sacrificing trust. Yeah, so nice to meet you, Alina. So tell me, how did you get into cybersecurity?
Hi, David. Actually, I need to tell you a bit of a story. So my background is purely technical, and I pursued all of my adult life a career in AI, including a PhD. And I have worked as an applied scientist on multiple problems from various domains. But actually, Arcanna offered me the opportunity to apply my vast knowledge in AI to practical domains and quite challenging ones, such as cybersecurity.
Yeah, so tell me, what do you do for Arcanna?
So my official role with Arcanna is Chief Data Scientist, and this usually implies several steps such as building, validating, and governing AI components that we integrate into the platform in order to offer value to our customers, but in a trustworthy manner.
So you were the original author of the decision layer.
Yeah, that's correct. Indeed, I was the initial proposer for the decision layer and the way we phrase the decision making in the SOC using the human feedback loop and also the core of the decision layers, which are decision models. But Arcanna today is actually the successful result of a strong collective team effort, no doubt.
Great. So let's get into the decision layer. So tell me, first of all, what is a decision layer and what role does it play in the Arcanna platform?
Okay, so Arcanna's decision layer is a control plane for the analysts in the SOC for them to actually make their decisions. We also call it a trust layer that stands between raw telemetry and automation so that the SOC decisions are consistent and defensible.
And tell me, the decision layer uses decision models, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, and how do decision models work?
Decision models behind the decision layer are actually deep learning models that are grounded in the data that the analysts use on a daily basis. And the models are trained using the feedback provided by the analysts.
There's a lot of talk right now about applying LLMs and generative AI to things like cybersecurity. Why, in your eyes, is it important to separate decision-making AI from generative AI?
So we are all familiar with the positive impact that LLMs had in some parts of certain domains. I mean, they are great assistants because they have a broader knowledge about a wide range of topics. But in mission-critical operations, they are not suitable for decision-making because they still face some important limitations, such as, for instance, in the SOC, you cannot have a system that, for instance, makes a decision that is unverifiable, unaccountable, or even hallucinated because the impact would be significant.
Yeah, that's very true. So what was the inspiration behind building Arcanna's decision models?
I'm going to tie back to how humans make decisions in general. So we all know that the human decision-making process it's quite a complex cognitive process that involves multiple steps. And when we as humans make decisions, we usually gather relevant information around a particular situation in order to gather context and make the best choice out of all possible options. Our brains do all the heavy lifting and make all the connections and tie the particular situation with past experiences, and in the end, we make a decision. In the same manner, we built Arcanna in order to capture and scale the human judgment, but also maintain the accountability part, the consistency of the decisions, but all grounded in the data and the experience of the analysts.
So yeah, tell me more about how the decision models actually incorporate in this human contextual decision making.
The data that we use in training these models actually use all the evidence that analysts use on a daily basis. So, for instance, an analyst can use, for example, some event fields that they look at, they can enrich them in order to gather more context. And based on that particular information, they end up putting a decision. We actually capture all those steps in the process, including the data. We also offer the human the possibility to decide which data to go into the model. After that, we prompt the user to give it feedback in order for a training process to start. And through these feedback mechanisms, we adapt and continuously improve the decision models.
And so what data are used to train the models?
The analyst has full control over the input of the model and over the SOC outcomes. So whatever they require in order to improve their processes, we can leverage that data in the same manner that the human does.
There's always a privacy and security element in cybersecurity operations. How does Arcanna ensure that these decision models maintain privacy and security?
Arcanna can be deployed on-prem or in a private cloud and can even fully work offline. Therefore, there is no issue with the data leaving the ecosystem or the client's environment. We make sure of it. The models reside within our customer's environment. The models, the data, the knowledge, all is kept within the customer's control and environment. We do not take anything.
When we look at an individual decision model, it seems like there's lots of flexibility in how they can be created. So what's the typical scope of a decision model?
The scope of the decision models can reside within a particular investigation flow or use case, and they do that particular task especially well because they are fitted within that particular data and for that particular outcome. So, for instance, in the case of alert triaging, which is actually one of the most frequently implemented use case by our clients, we usually deploy the decision layer with a decision model that basically does just that task right.
Okay, so let's actually get into the mechanics of how these decision models are created. Can you walk me through how it starts from data ingestion all the way to the output of the model?
Of course, yes. Usually, our clients use Arcanna by integrating with their SIEM, SOAR, EDR, or other data sources in order for us to be able to ingest that data into the platform. After that, there is a decision selection step in which the user looks over the data. If all the data is there in order to make a informative and good decision, then we continue to train the model. But if not, we also have some additional steps such as normalization or enrichments. For instance, we can enrich the data with threat intel in order to bring more context so that we can guarantee that the data that is used in decision making by the SOC enters the model. After that, we prompt the user to give feedback to the model. Some clients actually have prior decisions from past investigation that we can leverage, but still, the models are trained using feedback. After the model is trained, the model is deployed in production where the model can offer a prediction or a decision, a confidence score, and a decision insights report in order for the SOC to understand the outcome of the model. Additionally, some clients actually have an extra step, a post-decision automation step, that usually involves sending the result of the model into additional existing tools.
How can we put these different decision models together in the Arcanna platform?
We have in Arcanna what we call flows, which are basically orchestrated automation steps within the AI pipeline. So what flows do, actually, they offer full flexibility to the customer to decide where and what component to add to the pipeline. So basically, they have full control if they, for instance, want to do other automation steps such as ingestions or data enrichments, code blocks, or even running agentic workflows. They can decide if within the pipeline we need to add one decision step or multiple, and even they can decide where to put the ontology. So basically, it's up to their control. These steps are or can be enabled or disabled based on the preference of the customer, in order for us to not require the customer to redesign the whole pipeline. And in this way, we can actually fit Arcanna to any complex process within the SOC.
I see. Yeah. So they're very flexible. The decision models can basically fit into the existing processes that the SOC is using. Now, in your previous answer, you mentioned an ontology. So what is an ontology in Arcanna?
Yeah, so Arcanna's ontology is actually a new addition to the Arcanna stack. Mm-hmm. And its main purpose is actually to capture the tribal knowledge of the SOC team. So basically, data that doesn't reside or doesn't appear in any other sources or integration. It is something that it's unique to that particular organization. It's built, maintained, and owned exclusively by the client. Also, it can be built at level of the individual based on the preference. So for instance, if a certain analyst has a particular way of investigating a particular incident, we can capture that in the ontology, but we can also build it at the level of your whole organization so that we can have full visibility or overview of the organization. Also, I would like to mention that the ontology is basically the organized knowledge from mission critical operation experts that we actually model using entities that we can extract from multiple data sources. For instance, we can extract them from alerts, but also semantic relationships between these entities, that these relationships are actually defined by the user and created by the user. So that's the whole impact and importance of the ontology in Arcanna, because we can actually tie the alert with certain entities and relationships from the ontology in order to make better decisions and actual reasoning.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it seems that the ontology can really help the decision-making to scale. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'd like to talk a little bit about transparency and explainability, because that's a really, really important component when making decisions in a security operations center. So, we contrast that with black box AI models, where it's very difficult to know what's actually happening inside of the model. So how does the decision layer and how does Arcanna avoid the pitfalls of black box AI models?
Yeah, that's such a good question that we get asked a lot because it's an important topic. So Arcanna actually offers full visibility and control over the steps involved in building and training these models, meaning that the user sits with Arcanna from the moment of defining the task, ingesting the data, deciding what data to get into the model, and actually the SOC outcomes. And with this, we can actually offer the customer full visibility that we do not use external knowledge or data that can potentially impact the behavior of the models that are dedicated and built specifically for their operations, their processes, their use cases.
And so can analysts actually trace back why a model made a specific recommendation? And if so, how?
Given the fact that we have full auditability throughout the whole pipeline, we can actually trace back who who provided the feedback in every given moment. We can track individual feedback at the level of the team and over time. So we can actually roll back in case something went wrong with the model based on a particular feedback. And also we have possibility, and we actually offer this to our clients to see most similar labeled events that were labeled in the past by the team to better enforce the decision that was made in this particular instance.
Wow. So there's a real reinforcement element and even a coaching or training element
Yes.
to the. How does the decision layer or the pipeline adapt when customer environments or threat landscapes change? There's always evolving threats. So how do decision models account for that?
So yeah, our decision models can adapt and continuously improve through the human feedback. So that is the core mechanism that actually makes the model work and ingest the knowledge from the SOC and are capable of actually adapting to new threats. And we also, on top of decision models, we have guardrails like performance monitoring, outlier detection. For each decision, we can provide a confidence score, and we can use all those mechanisms in order to better detect, let's say, data drifts or performance drifts that can be caused by various reasons, and we can prompt the user to take action in certain situation by showing them, okay, this happened here. You need to investigate this and why this has happened, maybe roll back to a previous model and so on and so forth.
So turning to trustworthiness and safety, what steps are taken to ensure the models are accurate, consistent, and aligned with the expectations of the SOC itself?
Yeah, so by design, our decision models are consistent. Once we have a model trained, the weights of the model are fixed, meaning that once we get a particular input, we can guarantee the same output every single time. And on top of that, in order to make the models accurate, we usually recommend to our customers to first start with the human in the loop approach mode in order to match the model with the SOC expectations. And after a certain confidence has been built between the SOC and the model and the performance metrics justify them, we can actually move into a human on the loop step in which we don't need custom feedback review of the decisions made by the model, but actually we can put on controlled automations some part of the alerts, the high confidence ones.
I see. Yeah. So you can essentially use human in the loop methodologies to train the model and to really hone it in. And then once it's trained and honed in, it can move into production where you're using a human on the loop approach.
Of course. And also this is within the human control. The human decides the confidence thresholds when he is comfortable to moving the model in the controlled automation pipeline.
So why not rely on general purpose LLMs?
So general purpose can work in some situations when you need broad knowledge, internet level intelligence, let's say. But for a more practical and secure approach, you need something that is built within your rules, within using the knowledge from your team on your data to solve your problems.
Let's talk about the value of these decision models to people within the SOC. So how does the decision model, the decision layer pipeline impact analyst workload over time?
Yeah, so we usually see that for the analysts, we can reduce the false positive rate by actually auto-closing some of the triaged alerts, those with high confidence ones, using the models that he has trained. Also, an important aspect that I want to mention here is the fact that Arcanna as a platform is a tool that augments the human. Arcanna works with and alongside the humans, and we do not intend on replacing them. So in the end, the human, the team, is accountable for the decision made.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction. Yeah, and the way I see it, it really helps each individual analyst to be able to scale the amount of alerts that they can manage. So what does this mean for SOC leaders who need to justify AI decisions to auditors or executives?
Decision models are trained with the data and with the knowledge that resides within your institution. So basically, the knowledge from your team is distilled within these models, not on internet opinions. So that, for instance, is very valuable for auditors. Also, we have full visibility over the pipeline. So we work in a controlled setup. We have full traceability of the feedback, the decisions that were made throughout time within the environment. And that is something that is very valuable for both executives and auditors as well.
Other value factors brought by Arcanna that were not addressed with the above questions, are there any benefits in using decision models?
Of course. So we haven't talked much about the way that we can actually leverage the knowledge, the collective knowledge of the whole SOC team, because we have a consensus mechanism that actually implies that we can use feedback from multiple members of the team in order to build the best model, not just at the level of the individual, but actually the collective knowledge, like the best player in the team. And that's a very valuable aspect that Arcanna can bring to the table. And also, I would like to mention something that is quite interesting and actually pleasantly surprised us. We have the best customers and they are very creative, and we build Arcanna with them in mind and with their help. And sometimes they actually surprise us with the use cases that they think of that we haven't thought about, but as a byproduct of what we have built. And I would like to mention something like an Arcanna Coach, in which trained decision model in Arcanna can be used to onboard newcomers, or actually at the beginning for someone that is not that experienced to double check their decisions with the model that was trained by the team and align with them.
That's really great. So it really is a way to scale the expertise of the team, both in terms of helping individual analysts to be able to handle a higher volume of alerts and helping consensus to come about across the different members of the team. And then finally taking more junior members of the team and providing those models to enable them to build their skills. Thanks for joining us today. For MSSPs, operational scale is everything. You're expected to deliver high-quality detection and response across dozens or hundreds of customer environments, each with different data availability, different baselines, and different expectations. Arcanna helps MSSPs meet these demands without adding headcount, compromising quality, or sacrificing SLAs. Its decision models provide reproducible, customer-specific decisions at massive scale, while agentic workflows accelerate investigations across diverse toolsets and log sources. The result is a force multiplier for your analysts, faster triage, consistent outcomes, and the ability to onboard new customers without operational strain. With Arcanna, MSSPs can expand their service capacity, maintain quality, and stay ahead of evolving threats using the expertise they already have.